Hello, my name is Sean Metz. I teach at Palm Bay High School, and today I am going to tell you why the Universal Design for Learning, otherwise known as UDL, will benefit our school greatly. See, for many decades, students often performed tasks assigned by the teacher that involved very little self-expression and worked in a much more teacher-centered environment. The Universal Design for Learning, UDL, is intended to engage students in the curriculum by tapping into their interests and addressing the individual needs of the students. The classroom becomes far more student-centered, and the students begin to take responsibility for their own learning. Center for Applied Spatial Technology, 2009. For example, students who are studying poetry in their language arts class are required to interpret the author's meaning, may express this in a variety of techniques, such as creating a collage using Photoshop or displaying imagery found online with music that represents the mood or atmosphere of the poem by using Digital Story or Movie Maker. The students take ownership of learning to identify the author's meaning by allowing their interests to be represented in the learning itself. Thus, the student will become a master of inferring the author's meaning from a variety of text sources. UDL follows three principles that guide the learning to a student-centered environment and promote student ownership of the material. The first one is provide multiple means of representation, the second is provide multiple means of action and expression, and the third is provide multiple means of engagement. I will now break down these principles into details. The first step to achieving this principle is ensuring the information can be perceived by the students. The way information is presented in one format may not be perceived by all students. Using multiple means and media of presenting the information will greatly enhance the student's comprehension of the material. In essence, you'll be reaching all of the students by approaching different angles. Also, presenting the information in a manner that activates prior knowledge within the students will lead to a meaningful comprehension and connection to the material. For example, if a language arts class is studying internal and external conflict, the instructor could provide clips from public domain film that could function as examples. The clips could be presented in a PowerPoint presentation with the title Internal Conflict on one side and External Conflict on another. The internal conflict clip can focus on a character who is speaking or externalizing the conflicting emotions within him or her. The external conflict could be a clip from a scene in which the same character is arguing or physically assaulting another character. This is just one of the multiple means a teacher can represent the information. Provide multiple means of action and expression. The material is often regarded by students to be a very static experience. Some physical action and interaction is needed beyond turning the page of a book. Granted, there are students who have disabilities that can limit how much they can physically interact with the material or show little interest in physical activity, but there are alternative means of expression and action these students can use. These students can access other means of expression such as podcasting, movie making software, or constructing a PowerPoint presentation. The goal is for students to take ownership of their learning and express their comprehension of the material. However, the freedom of student expression for a concept does not mean they have a pass for learning the material. Quite the opposite. A set of goals or learning objectives must be established for the student, must have a clearly defined objective to work towards. For example, if a language arts class is working on character development through character traits, a set of objectives will need to be established. This could take the form of a grading rubric or a checklist. The student can then use whatever media suits their interest to express their comprehension of how characters are developed in literature. A student could create a skit in which the character of a story that was read in class is acted out, or a student could create a photo story of images which represent the different traits of the character and explain how the traits lead to character development. Since the objective will be clearly defined, the students will have a clear goal to work towards, and their expressive assignments will be focused. Provide multiple means of engagement. The most important step is learning what interests the students. This can easily be accomplished with a survey. Once the interests of the students are made clear, the teacher must find a way to sustain the students' interest in learning the objective. Multiple media or modes of instruction are needed to keep the material fresh and alive for the students. However, the most important aspect to the third principle is developing a student's self-regulation. This might be the most challenging aspect to tackle, as the students are still developing their own self-regulation when it comes to tasks they perform in everyday life. The best way to develop this skill is for the students to reflect on their assignments. For example, if a student is creating a movie to present how characters are developed, a reflection portion can be made as part of the course requirement. The student can create a blog, a podcast, or a vlog to express how they are regulating portions of their tasks. Thus, the student is reflecting on their work process and learn how to approach each situation and allot time and material needed for the project. Technology is central to UDL as it provides the students with the means of expressing themselves. With technology like podcasting, Movie Maker, PowerPoint, and Digital Story, the students can express themselves while demonstrating their comprehension of the objective of the unit. The technology also provides a new level of access for students who are disabled. For example, if a student has poor eyesight, there are programs that can read the text to him or her. Also, the teacher can record the lecture as a podcast so the student can listen to it if needed. In fact, the benefits of recording the lecture as a podcast is the student can go back and listen to portions that he or she may not have comprehended the first time around. As we are all aware, the clientele of students at our school are extremely visual learners. By incorporating UDL, these visual learners will be addressed and drawn into the unit far more than if they simply read from the text. The students will become more engaged in the material now that they could place an image to a concept, thus enriching their learning experience. Also, our students need to take their learning into their own hands, and UDL will help make the learning environment far more student-centered than it ever was. When the student knows how to use the technology available, they will be able to express their interests and their interpretation of the material by utilizing various forms of technology. The recent studies in brain research are a factor in UDL. The information we provide to the students is grouped and processed by three means. Recognition, which is simply recognizing the pattern; strategic, processing of actions and plans; and effective, evaluating patterns and processing the emotional experience. All three of these processes work in conjunction for completing daily tasks. Laureate 2010. For example, if one of our students is playing a video game, the recognition portion will understand the concepts of how to use the controller and how to move the player around the game. The strategic portion allows the student to devise plans and develop strategies in order to progress further in the game. The affective portion will connect the student's feelings to the game, such as joy when the students make progress, or frustration when there is a lack of progress. When all three of these processes are functioning at the same time, the mind is at its most active. With the three different learning processes of the brain, UDL provides an opportunity for students who are stronger in one area to capitalize on their strengths. For example, a student who has poor eyesight but can recognize patterns easily could use a program that can magnify the text he or she is reading, thus allowing the student to stay focused on the unit. Let's say if a student of a different culture or ethnicity with limited English proficiency must write an essay, the teacher can provide access to images related to the prompt to help build some ideas that these students can start from. UDL can support students of varying academic abilities and reach the thinking processes they are most proficient in. While engaging the thinking process each student tends to be proficient in, it is also important to engage all three thinking processes at the same time. UDL pushes for the use of technology in our curriculum, and in the case of the information provided in brain research, UDL's goal of using technology to allow students to express their interests and themselves when constructing an assignment will engage all three processes. For example, If a teacher requires students to research and illustrate various forms of propaganda in a presentation and write down their feelings about what they have found, this will spark all three processes within the brain. The students will recognize the pattern of propaganda. The students will plan their writing by processing how to construct sentences, and the students will describe their emotions. Whether the student chooses to present the information in a movie, PowerPoint, podcast, or digital story, the end result is the same. The students have made a connection to the material by using all three neural processes and have used technology to express their interests and thoughts on the subject. There are a plethora of resources available for incorporating UDL, and the Center for Applied Special Technology, CAST, have created resources that tap into both the unique ways each student learns and incorporates technology into the activity. I will provide 3 resources that can be used for our school. The first resource is a tic-tac-toe style assignment in which the students are required to select 3 activities that involve researching sailing. Each activity focuses on one of the various styles of learning, such as visual, spatial, or auditory. Each activity incorporates a technological component for the assignment. I like this one because it can be modified for other contents or objectives that need to be met in various classes, and it addresses several modes of thinking and learning, so just about any student will find the activity acceptable. The assignment can be found at the following link: pantherfile.uwm.edu/edy/burn/www/sailing.ttt.pdf. The second resource approaches the study of writing mechanics using UDL. The students can select printed articles or articles from a newspaper that are provided by the teacher and are to describe the contents of the articles. Particular focus is paid to presenting the articles in multimedia format, and students are encouraged to present their work in a multimedia format. The activity then moves to addressing mechanics and sentence structure. Each activity ends with a reflection period for the student, thus reinforcing the material. The activity can be found at www.cast.org/teaching-every-student/toolkits/tk_id=21 and tkl_id=81 and disp=UDLAPPROACH. A third resource that is useful is Little Bird Tales. This website is designed for students to create stories. The students can upload pictures, text, and an audio track to accompany their stories. The account is free to set up, and the stories can be shared in the public or set to private. The site provides an option to register as a teacher. Granted, the site is designed to appeal to younger children, but I see no reason why our students still cannot benefit from it. The accessibility of the website, story construction procedure, and uploading procedure is straightforward, which will benefit students who are less technologically inclined. This would be a great tool for students to express themselves. The link for this site is www.littlebirdtales.com. Each of the resources provides for the needs of the students. The tic-tac-toe activity provides multiple means for students to access technology in a manner of thinking they are comfortable with. The writing mechanics provides multiple means of accessing articles and writing. Thus, students with eyesight difficulties or language barrier can still participate in reading comprehension activities. The Little Bird Tales offers a means of allowing the students to express themselves using pictures, text, and voice. This is also a great team project. For example, if one student is less proficient in English but has excellent art skills, that student can still contribute in a meaningful way by providing illustrations. Universal Design for Learning is intended to engage the students in the curriculum by focusing on their interests and addressing their individual needs. It's designed to be a far more student-centered learning environment, and it's designed to tap into their specific learning styles, their specific learning patterns. I know this may seem like a lot to take in, and I know for many of you this will be something new. This might be a major adjustment, but it will be well worth it. Once you start integrating these practices into your teaching, which most of you already do, this design for including technology and allowing the students to tap into their interests will become second nature, just like anything else that involves teaching. It takes a lot of work to start out, but eventually you will settle into a routine for using the technology and integrating the technology into the curriculum. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me, and I hope you have a wonderful day.